Now that she was relaxed in her office, after doing the majority of the paperwork she needed to do, Lucy's thoughts drifted back to the event of the previous night and the mansion she had woken up in that morning. She sat up as she thought about Tom. Who was he? She wished she could remember how he had made love to her, but the only thing she could remember was the foreplay and how he had made her scream and moan loudly. Her face colored in embarrassment when she remembered the man who she had met outside the bedroom door. Had he possibly heard her scream? She really hoped not. She suddenly remembered she hadn't checked her phone since she woke up because of the rush to get to the office on time. And she quickly dipped her hand in her handbag and took out her phone. She bit her lower lip when she saw over 50 missed call notifications and about 5 text message notifications. She had no doubt who the calls and texts were from. Her parents, her twin brother, Lucas, and her best friend Sonia. 2 of the text messages were from her mother asking her to call her immediately she saw the call. 1 was from her father threatening to file a missing person report if she failed to contact them before the end of the day. Another was from Lucas asking her to call him immediately she saw his text. And the last was from Sonia asking her why she wasn't taking her call, and if she had been kidnapped by a serial killer. She called her parents first and assured them she was okay and had been too busy unpacking to check her phone, before returning her Lucas call. "You got us all worried, where were you?" Lucas asked, sounding very relieved to hear from her. "I went partying last night and I got drunk. You won't believe I woke up really late and arrived at the office over 2 hours late." Lucy said, making her brother's brow furrow. "That was a very risky thing to do knowing you do not have the head for alcohol. What about your boss? Did he query you?" Lucas asked in concern. "Just a little bit. But I took care of it." "How did you celebrate your birthday?" She asked curiously. "Well, I celebrated it at the hospital. There was an emergency case and being the doctor in charge, I had to be here for most of the day." Lucas explained. "Don't worry, I had enough fun for 2, Lucy said, making Lucas chuckle. "I'm sure you did. I really wish I could have helped you move. What do you think about the city? Are the people over there friendly? What about your apartment? Any nice neighbors? It's still too early to tell. When I have the answer to your questions, I'll let you know. For now, I need to hang up so I can return Sonia's call." Lucy said before hanging up. She decided to surprise Sonia with her checklist before giving her a call, so she opened her gallery and transferred the photos she had taken the previous evening after dressing up to Sonia, before picking up her journal and sending a picture of her checklist to Sonia. She giggled when her phone started ringing almost immediately. "No way. You definitely didn't do that." Sonia said in disbelief. Immediately Lucy received her call. "Yes, I did," Lucy said with a giggle. "Oh my god. Do you mean you really got deflowered last night? Oh my god. How was it? What did it feel like? Who was the guy? What does he look like? Let's switch to video call, I want to see your face," Sonia said as she quickly switched the call to FaceTime, while Lucy grinned from ear to ear. "Why did no one tell me my nipples could be so sensitive?" Lucy asked in an excited whisper, making Sonia giggle. "Details. Give me all the lewd details," Sonia said and listened as Lucy described all the events of the previous night. "Oh my god. I feel so embarrassed on your behalf. You mean he actually caught a glimpse of the checklist?" Sonia asked as she howled with laughter. "I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me. I've never felt more embarrassed in my entire life," Lucy said before continuing with her story. "Wow. I wish I was there. I can't believe you lost your virginity on your first night in a new city to a stranger. Girl. I'm fucking proud of you. Maybe I should come there and find myself someone to warm my bed at night," Sonia said thoughtfully. "You're just a whore," Lucy responded with a giggle, which Sonia joined in. "Wow. I really hope you meet this handsome stranger again," Sonia said after they settled down. "It was just a one-night stand. I have no intention of meeting him again or having anything to do with him for that matter. I'm still not interested in men," Lucy said, making Sonia roll her eyes. "You don't want to experience that pleasure again?" Sonia asked. "Well, I could get a vibrator," Lucy said with a shrug. "A vibrator won't suck your nipples or your clit," Sonia pointed out. "I'm sure I'd get something that can do the job in a good sex toy shop. All I need to do is find one around here. Enough about me. How's your story coming?" Lucy asked, changing the subject. "I'm having a sort of writer's block at the moment. I've been trying to write the next chapter but I can't. And my editor keeps calling. He is literally driving me crazy," Sonia said through clenched teeth. "Calm down. I'm sure you'd figure something out. Maybe you should take a break from writing. Go out and have fun. You never can tell, you could get your ideas outdoor," Lucy suggested, making Sonia roll her eyes. "Says the one person who never leaves her bedroom." Sonia countered. "Well, that's me. I'm an introvert whereas you're an extrovert. No, I'm an ambivert. But whatever. I'll just take your suggestion and step out of the house. I need a break after all. And who knows? I just might find my own Tom," Sonia said, making Lucy laugh. "I wish you good luck with that. Got to go now. Let's talk later," Lucy said before hanging up. Was there any chance of her bumping into Tom again? Hopefully not, she thought as she returned her attention to the documents in front of her. Immediately Lucy returned home from work that evening, she collapsed on the couch. Luckily for her, finding an apartment in the city had been much easier than she had thought possible. Immediately she was informed of her promotion on Friday. The first thing she had done was check for available apartments on the net, and she had been able to get an affordable one on such short notice. Her parents had suggested she live in a hotel since the company had offered to give her allowances to take care of her living expenses until she was fully settled, but she had seen it as a wasteful venture, especially since she didn't like the idea of lodging in a hotel. She took off her shoes and sat up to have a good look around her apartment. She was yet to fully unpack, so her things were scattered all over the place. And she winced when she saw the clothes she had worn the previous night on the floor. She had taken it off and dumped the gown on the floor along with her shoes as she quickly changed into her work clothes that morning. She forced herself to stand up, and then took off her office clothes and changed into a short and crop top, before bending down to pick up the clothes. Soon she got busy with arranging her things and putting everything in place. She was sweating profusely, and her clothes were all messed up by the time she paused to take a break and drink water. She glanced at the clock and was surprised to see it was past 7 p.m. already. And she had been busy for over an hour. She raised her head when she heard the sound of her doorbell. Why was anyone ringing her doorbell? She wondered as she dropped the bottle of water she had been holding and headed for the door to see who it was. She spied through the window and her heart almost dropped when she saw Tom standing there with something which looked like a tray in his hand. Tom? How did he find out where she was living? Did he have someone follow her? She had deliberately turned down the man's offer to drop her off at home and had only pleaded with him to drop her off somewhere she could easily get a cab to her house, so how on earth had he found out where she was living? This was supposed to be a one-night stand, for crying out loud. Lucy thought. At the edge of panic as she tried to make up her mind on what to do. Hello? Tom greeted, making her jump back in surprise when she realized he was now standing in front of the window looking directly at her. Oh. Hi. Who are you? She stuttered, pretending not to recognize him. She knew she was looking quite different in her glasses and with her hair tied in a bun, so she was counting on that to help keep her identity. Hi. My name is Tom. I'm your next-door neighbor, came to welcome you to the neighborhood. Tom said with a grin as he held up the tray so she could see the contents. Lucy's stomach rumbled in protest when she saw the apple peach cobbler he was carrying. Reminding her she was yet to eat anything all day. Next-door neighbor? Oh, God. The mansion where they had passed the night wasn't his? How was he her neighbor? Oh. Okay. She said, feeling thankful that he hadn't recognized her. The door? Tom reminded her. Oh. Yeah. I'll get it. She said with a nervous laugh as she quickly moved over to the door to unlock it, and nervously tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear the moment his face came into view. She reached out to take the tray from him, but Tom moved it out of her reach as he walked into her apartment. You're just unpacking? Do you need help? He asked when he noticed the way she was sweating and saw some of her furniture and photo frames on the floor. No, I got it. Thanks. She said, standing away from him with both hands in her pocket. Tom noticed she was yet to shut the door, and he could tell it was a polite way of telling him he wasn't welcome to stay. Oh, come on. I just have to help you unpack. I can't let a pretty young lady like you move all this heavy stuff around yourself. Tom insisted he dropped the tray on the table and faced her. So what can I do? Hold on. Why do you look so familiar? He asked, peering into her face. Lucy swallowed nervously and quickly turned away from him. Do I? I'm not sure I've met you before. She said with a nervous smile which made Tom chuckle. I guess you're one of those people. Tom said with a smile. One of what people? She asked in confusion. The sort to forget everything that happens after taking alcohol. Don't worry. It's fine. I remember enough for us both. Wow. Who would have thought you'd end up becoming my next-door neighbor? Could this be coincidence or fate? He asked, sounding genuinely surprised. Lucy cleared her throat. I don't know what you're talking about. You're Lucinda Perry, aren't you? We met at the club last night. He said as he picked up her company's identity card from the table before she could stop him, making Lucinda's face color with embarrassment. Wow. You look really different with your hair up, and with these glasses on. I almost could not recognize you. Tom said as he looked at her with a grin. What do you want? Lucy asked with a weary sigh. He wasn't going to blackmail her, was he? Her heartbeat doubled at the thought as she looked at him with a frightened expression on her face. What if he had taken nude photos of her and was going to demand money or leak them on the net? She wondered as she started breathing really fast. One look at the frightened expression on her face and Tom could guess what she was thinking. Calm down. I wasn't stalking you, and I'm most definitely not here to blackmail you. I just happen to be your next-door neighbor. Tom assured her, raising both hands as though to show that he meant no harm. Lucy looked at him uncertainly, and when she saw the harmless smile on his face she took a moment to compose herself and her thoughts. And you swear this meeting is purely coincidental? She asked suspiciously. Sonia was going to have a good laugh if she heard about this unfortunate coincidence. Come on. What else could it be? Tom asked, making her relax slightly even though she was still feeling uncomfortable. Look, I don't mean to deflate your ego or be rude. Last night was great, and the sex was mind-blowing, but it was just a one-time thing. Like I don't intend to, get involved with you or have a repeat of it. She said as she rocked back on her heel. The sides of Tom's lips twitched in amusement when he realized that she actually thought they had sex and he had deflowered her. He decided to play along since there was no need to tell her the truth. Ouch. Tom said, sounding like his ego had been bruised. I must have been very lousy on bed. I thought if the sex was great the woman was supposed to come back for more. Tom said, making her wince. Let's just be good friends and good neighbors. Okay? Let's forget about whatever happened. Lucy said as she moved away from him to put some distance between them. Okay. If that's what you want. So as a good friendly neighbor, what can I help you with? Tom asked as he looked around the house. Let's just move the furniture and then set up the bed. She said, sounding clearly relieved that he was willing to forget the past. They both worked in silence for some time. Tom helped her carry the heavy stuff into her bedroom while she busied herself with arranging the kitchen. After working for about 30 minutes, Tom decided to break the silence, so he joined her in the kitchen. By the way, how was work today? I know we agreed not to talk about yesterday, but I gathered you woke up really late. I hope it didn't cause any problems for you at work? He asked, reminding her that she was curious about something. It's fine. I was just wondering. That building, what was it? An hotel? Or a private residence? She asked without turning to look at him. Oh. It's a friend's family house, I see. Yeah, I figured since it was a one-night stand there was no need for either of us knowing where the other lives. But I guess that wasn't necessary after all. Tom said with grin, making Lucy chuckle. She was glad they could joke about something like this like it hadn't happened. Who knows? Maybe he could be her first friend in the city after all. She thought, I guess so. She said as she turned to look at him. She almost swallowed her tongue when she noticed he had unbuttoned his shirt and his bare torso, which was glistening with sweat, looked very attractive. Bad idea. She decided as she turned around and returned her attention to the cupboards she was cleaning while Tom also returned to the living room. When she was done in the kitchen she walked over to the living room to check on him, and smiled appreciatively when she noticed that everything was almost set. She couldn't help feeling very grateful for his help since she knew had she be doing it alone, she wouldn't have gone halfway by now. She couldn't wait for him to leave so she could have a warm bath and relax her body and mind, but for now she needed to be an hospitable host to her sinfully gorgeous next-door neighbor. So what do you do? Lucy asked from the doorway, since that seemed like a relatively safe topic to discuss with her neighbor. I fix things. Sort of like an handyman. But I had a job interview today, though. So if it goes well I'd become a company driver. He said, flashing her a smile. Oh. A driver? She wondered with a frown. She hadn't pegged him to be such an ordinary man. Why a driver of all things? And an handyman? Tom almost smiled when he heard the hint of disappointment in her tone. Yeah. Although my job as a handyman takes care of most of my bills. But I need this new job to keep body and soul together. He explained as he straightened from what he had been doing and looked at her. He smiled when he noticed the dirt stain on her cheek and the side of her nose. How she managed to still look attractive even in those thick glasses was beyond him. He reached out his hand to take the photo frames from her when he noticed she wanted to hang them on the wall. Tom's eyes fell on one of the pictures herself and Lucas had snapped, their hands on each other's shoulders and a grin on their faces as they posed for the camera. Boyfriend? He asked curiously. I wish. She said with a giggle, that's my twin brother Lucas. He would have helped me move. But my relocation was impromptu, so he couldn't get a leave from work on such short notice. He's a medical doctor. She explained as she surveyed the walls, looking for the best spot to hang the pictures. How lucky. I've always wished I had a twin. I feel like there's a special connection between twins that's lacking in other relationships. Don't you feel specially connected with your brother? Tom asked as he hung the picture on the side of the wall she was pointing at. I wouldn't know. Maybe because he is my only sibling, so I don't know. What about you? Do you have any siblings? She asked, making Tom swear loudly. Oh shit. I promised my mom I was going to give my siblings a call. Yes, I do. I have a brother and a sister. Since we are done here with the bulk of the work, I'll leave you to it and return to my apartment. I need to check on my siblings. Tom said as he hurried towards the door. Oh. You're not going to have a taste of the apple pie? She called out as he hurried towards the door. It's for you, so enjoy it. I've got some at home. You can bring the tray to the apartment next door when you're done. He said as he shut the door behind him. Immediately he was out. He grinned to himself, proud of himself for acting so neighborly, and very glad he had come up with a good excuse to leave in such a friendly manner. She wanted a good friendly neighbor? She was going to get just that. Yeah, look this way. Great. Just perfect. No, wait, don't move. Yes, I got it. Perfect. You're perfect, Brian. That smile is a killer. The photographer called out excitedly as he took different photos of Brian as he kept switching postures. We can wrap it up for today and call it a day. The director called, but before he could finish speaking, Brian stood up, picked up his fur coat and threw it at his assistant, Mia, as he started heading for the door. Brian, you have to be here very early, Tom. He stopped when he realized Brian had walked out already, that damned brat. He's lucky he's so talented. The director swore as he glared at the door. You must be very exhausted. Brian's manager observed as he looked at him. He had been busy all day working on commercial shoots for 2 different companies at 2 separate locations. I just want to get out of here as soon as possible. He confessed. At age 27, Brian Hanks was a multi-talented actor and model. He had made up his mind to work in the entertainment industry from a very early age, and although his parents hadn't exactly understood his passion, they had done their best to encourage his dreams and aspirations. We will be traveling back after the shoot tomorrow and you'll have enough time to rest, so just try to keep your feet up for the rest of the evening. I still need to go over the rest of the details with the director, so I'll see you in the morning. His manager said, before turning around to leave. Sure. Good night, Jeff. Brian called after him as he continued outside with Mia. Immediately they got into the car. He took off his tie and took the bottle of water which his assistant was handing him from the front seat. After taking a very long sip, he sighed. So who called? He asked Mia. Your mom, Sophia, and your brother called too. Mia said as she looked through the journal where she had written down the details of each call. My brother? Tom? He asked in confusion as he held out his hand for his phone. Tom rarely called since they both were very busy people, so it surprised him that Tom had called. Yes. He called just 30 minutes ago. I told him you were in the middle of something and would return his call when you were done. Mia explained as she handed the phone to him. I wonder why he's calling. Brian murmured to himself. And my mom? What did she want? She wanted to know if the scandal about you and Sophia is true, and also to find out when you would be available for a little family trip. So what did you tell her? Brian asked before turning to look at the driver. Is there someone you're waiting for? Sorry. He said apologetically as he quickly turned on the car's ignition and drove in the direction of the hotel Brian was lodged. I told her I'll check with your manager and get back to her. Good. Brian said with a satisfied smile as he closed his eyes and rested his head. It had been quite a while since he last visited his parents or even saw his siblings, due to his busy schedule which was as a result of his career, and he knew he needed to see them before the end of the year, especially his parents. He was just going to return his mother's call later. Maybe when he was ready to listen to her scold him about his reckless lifestyle. But first he would have to return Tom's call. He was about dialing Tom's number when he remembered that Mia had mentioned something about Sophia, so he dialed her line instead. Sophia was his young friend who also happened to be in the entertainment industry, and their friendship had started after they both starred in a romantic movie as the main leads. "What's up?" he asked the moment she accepted his call. "Have you seen the news circulating all over the place? What are you doing about the scandal?" Sophia asked in an agitated tone. "Don't worry about it. Soon they will stop talking and everything will return to normal." Brian said dismissively, "I can't do that. You can afford to let them say such dirty things about you because you're a Casanova and you're used to such scandals, but I'm not like that. And my boyfriend is already very angry about this. He thinks I lied to him about having a shoot down here just so I could meet with you," she said in a shaky voice which told him she had probably been crying. Brian sighed as he massaged his temple. This was the issue with getting involved with teenagers. She was 19 and was an adult quite all right, but he had only taken her out to grab a bite when he found out she was shooting a movie somewhere around the studio where he had been doing his commercial shoot earlier that day. Not like he had even slept with her or anything. He hadn't expected anyone to make a big deal out of it and even take photos. If this had happened between himself and a more experienced and mature actress, he knew the actress wouldn't have been as upset as Sophia was, but he could understand her. Even while they had been shooting their movie together, she had told him how jealous and insecure her boyfriend had been over her taking on such a role with a Casanova like Brian. "Don't worry, I'll take care of it," he promised, and hung up before she could say anything else. From his experience, Brian knew the best way to put an end to one scandal was to cause another scandal, and he was going to do just that. As long as he diverted the attention away from the poor girl to himself, then everything would be okay. "Do you still have that ring? The one the manager of Gem Jewelers gifted me earlier today?" Brian asked Mia, who looked at him in confusion. "Yes." "Why, give it to me," he said, and extended his hand until she placed the box in his hand. The plan he had just come up with was a very reckless one, but he had always been known to be reckless, so it wasn't much of a big deal. So immediately the driver stopped the car in front of his hotel. He got out of the car and walked into the hotel lobby. He looked around like he was trying to find someone until his eyes stopped on a very pretty young lady with long curly blonde hair, who was seated as though she was waiting for someone. She was dressed in a red playsuit which showed just how long and slender her legs were, and she was wearing black high-heeled sandals. He looked at her fingers, and the moment he noticed she wasn't wearing a wedding band, he headed in her direction. He stopped in front of her, making her look up at him with a frown, and then her eyes widened in surprise when she recognized him. This was Brian Hanks, the famous actor and model. What was he doing in front of her? Sonia, who had been waiting for her editor, asked herself. Before she could finish processing what she was thinking, Brian went on one knee. "Will you marry me?" he asked as he opened the ring box.